Okay, welcome back, everybody. And today's daf is Masechta Bava Basra, daf Kuf Chof Daled, and we are discussing. We're in the middle of an interesting topic over here, discussing the idea of 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 pishnayim for a bechor. We know that the Torah tells us that when a bechor inherits from his parents, the eldest gets two portions corresponding to the portions of the other children. I don't think it's done today. I think today, if the oldest son gets something extra, but not pi shnayim. But in the Torah, it says that a bechor is supposed to get pi shnayim. Again, a double amount, a double portion than what the other brothers get. So that we know. So but the question over here is, you can define assets as at the time of passing. When the father passes away, that's the assets, and the bechor takes pi shnayim. What about a situation where you have the father left over a tree, and it had unripened fruits on the tree, and then it's a natural occurrence that it's going to ripen? Would you say that the bechor takes pi shnayim of that? So, hi, Alan. We just began. Hi, we just began. So we're on the Kuf Chof Daled. Amid Beis, Kuf Chav Gimel, Amid Beis, about 5 lines from the bottom. So we're talking about Bechor taking pi shnayim, and the question is, we know he takes pi shnayim, but what happens if the father, after the father passes away, some income came into the assets? Would the Bechor take pi shnayim of that? So let's see. The Brisa continued and said, "Hiniach lehen aviyam para." Let's say the father left over a cow, muchkeres umuskeres biyad acher, and it's leased or rented, so there's rental income coming in. Or shohoisa roya ba'afar. Let's say they had a cow, and the cow was pregnant, and it was grazing in the meadow, the yolda, and it gave birth. So now, when the father died, it wasn't there, right? When the father died, this rental income and the child and this baby wasn't born yet. So would the bechor take pi shnayim of that as well? Because this is expected to happen. That's the point. So the Brisa said, "Bechor noitel pi ba pi shnayim." The bechor will take a double portion, is pi shnayim. So that's what the Brisa said. So the Gemara just asks on the redundancy of the two examples that you gave. You gave me two examples. Hi, Sheldon. We just began. 4 lines from the bottom of on the base. So you gave me two examples. The Brisa gave me two examples of where you gave me two examples. The Brisa gave me two examples where a bechor would take pi shnayim. One is if rental income comes in, and two, if the cow gave birth, the bechor would take pi shnayim of that. Even though when the father died, it wasn't around, right? When the father died, he didn't have that. This income came in afterwards. So the Gemara says, "Hashta muchkeres muskeres." When you tell me about rental income and lease income, that the bechor takes pi shnayim, the la b'shusu damar didu kaima. Even in that case, where the cow wasn't even in the possession of the father when he died, Amrit, you say shakel. You tell me that the bechor could take pi shnayim, because it's income that it's expected to come in. So of course, if the father had a pregnant cow that gave birth in the meadow, certainly the bechor would take pi shnayim, because that's in his possession. Roya ba'alfa or mabaya. Do I need to tell me that a bechor would take pi shnayim if the cow gave birth after the father died? And says the Gemara, yes, it teaches me another idea. Hakamashmalan teaches you to muchkeres umuskeres dumi deraya ba'afar, that the rental income has to be similar to a pregnant cow that grazes in the meadow. A grazing cow, right, gives birth with no investment of the other brothers, right? It just eats grass, and then it gets heavier and then gives birth. So only then will the bechor take pi shnayim, because that's shvacha de b'meila. Ma roya be'efer, shvacha de b'meila ka'asi. This profit comes by itself. V'loy kom achasrei b'mazoyna, and the other brothers didn't have to feed it, right? So this is a profit that came, a profit OFIT, that came without any investments of the other brothers. Then the Bechor takes Pi Shnayim. We go to Kuchav Dalad Amral. Af Muchkeres Muskeres, when something is rented, the rental income has to be such that the other brothers did not have to have any investment, like say providing for food to provide for food for the animal, and it has to be shvacha de memela ka'asa. It has to come totally by itself. The loikol machasra b'mezonah. They didn't have to even pay for food, because once the other brothers have to put in an investment to create this profit, right? Then the Bechor will not take Pishnayim, because it's really not the father that probably had this profit. It was because of the investment of the other brothers, and therefore the Bechor will not take Pishnayim. So one thing you see over here, that if, let's say again, let's give the example. You have a tree, and the tree has unripened fruits, and the fruits ripen. Would the Bechor take Pishnayim of the fruits that ripened by itself after the father's death? So the Brisa seems to say that you would, a Bechor would take Pishnayim like that. So money, who is the author of the Brisa? Rebbe. This is the author of the Brisa's Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, the Tanakama, this is the Rabbanan. The majority opinion is Ein Bechor Noitel Pishnayim B'Shvech Sheshafru Nechosim La'achar Misas Aviyim. A Bechor will not take Pishnayim on profit that profited after the death of the father. He only takes Pishnayim only on the assets that were existent at the time of the father's death. But if it went up in value or profit increased, even without the work of or any investment by the brothers, the Bechor would not take Pishnayim, and this is the opinion of the Tanakama. Rebbe says, Omer ani, Bechor noitel Pishnayim b'shevach sheshavchu nechasim la'achar misas aviyim. And the Bechor would take Pishnayim in a profit that happened after the death of the father, right, as we said. Avaloi, but Rebbe says not b'shevach shishbichu yisoimim. If the yisoimim the other brothers had to invest to create this profit, la'achar misas aviyim, then the Bechor would not take Pishnayim of that. Okay, so that's something to think about. I always wondered, let's say if the father left over a lottery ticket, and after he died, he won. So would the Bechor take Pishnayim of that? Well, he didn't win it when he was alive. He won it after he died. So for simple on the simple reading, it would seem that Rebbe holds yes, and the Rabbanan will hold no. But we'll see. The Gemara tells us another case. Yorshu shtar choiv. Let's say the father loaned money to somebody. Okay, he loaned some money to somebody, and the guy didn't pay yet when the father was alive, but he paid back after the father died. So therefore, the Brisa says Bechor noitel Pishnayim. The Bechor would take Pishnayim of that asset. Why? Because at the end of the day, the father was holding on to a document, a bond instrument. So when the maturity comes, the loan comes due. So he was holding on to something. It was considered part of the assets, and maybe even the Chachamim will hold that the Bechor would take Pishnayim. But certainly Rebbe holds Bechor takes Pishnayim because he's holding on to a dead instrument. If he was not holding on to a dead instrument, then the Bechor would not take Pishnayim. Because that's called a milva al peh. But here we're talking about a shtar choiv that's written on paper, and that was in the father's desk when he died, and then the maturity date came. The Bechor would take Pishnayim of that. Now comes a new story. Since it's not all roses for the Bechor, because sometimes it could be detrimental, because since the Bechor takes Pishnayim, he gets a double portion. So when the father owed money when he died, so the Bechor has to pay a double amount. Yotza aleim shtar choiv. Let's say after the father died and all the inheritance was split up and the Bechor took Pishnayim, there was a shtar, a dead instrument came that the father owed money, right? A collection agency. So Bechor noisim Pishnayim. Then the Bechor has to give Pishnayim. He has to give Pishnayim of that. Okay, a Bechor Noisim Pishnaim. The Bechor would have to give Pishnaim of that. And that's because he gets the benefit of getting Pishnaim, inheriting Pishnaim. So when it comes to time to pay, he has to give Pishnaim. Vim Omar, but if the Bechor says, Eini Noisim be'eini noito, Rashai, if he says, I don't want to participate and take Pishnaim, and therefore when something detrimental happens that our father owed money, I don't want to be responsible for two portions. So Rashai, he's permitted, because it's not automatic that he inherits this Pishnaim. An inheritance is automatic; you automatically get it. But this is almost like a gift to the Bechor, and he has a right to refuse the gift of taking Pishnaim if it will cause him now to have to pay for the father's outstanding debts a double portion than the other brother. So now we learned the machlokes between Rabbanan and Rebbe, whether a shevach that happens by itself, a profit that happens by itself, that happened after the father died, would the Bechor take Pishnaim? So the Gemara says, the Rabbanan said not so. My time, the Rabbanan. What is the reason of the Rabbanan? Why do Rabbanan hold that an expected profit that happened after the father's death, the Bechor would not take Pishnaim? Amakra, because the pasuk says, Losses loy Pishnaim. The Torah says that you give a Bechor Pishnaim. Matana karyarachmana, it's a gift to the Bechor. It's not like an inheritance, it's a gift. And therefore, ma matana ad, just like you can't give a gift until you actually have it, you can't give something that you don't have, right? So therefore, af chelik b'choira, the part that the b'choira, the gift of Pishnayim, ad matuliyade, until the father actually had it. And if he didn't have it at the time of his death, then the b'chor would not take Pishnayim, because it's only something that was in existence in the father's possessions when he died. But if it happened later on, then the b'chor would not take Pishnayim. That is the opinion of the Rabbanan, which consider the Pishnaim as a total gift to the Bechor. Rabbi said, Amakra Pishnaim. It's a double portion to the other brothers. And certainly the other brothers is not a gift, it's an inheritance. And therefore, even an inheritance, they always get the inheritance that happens a profit by itself. So therefore, the Pishnaim of the Bechor, this juxtaposition, the Pishnaim of the Bechor, is also like an inheritance that he automatically gets it, even if the father didn't have it. The Pishnaim, Makish Chelik Bechor lechelik Pashut, that we compare the part that goes to the Bechor to the part that goes to the regular brothers. Ma Chelik Pashut afagav deloy motili day, just like the Chelik Pashut, that even if they didn't get it, if even if the father didn't have it, let's say the father died, and then the grandfather died, right? So then the brothers inherit that, even though the father didn't have it, at the time of his death, it certainly goes to the grandkids, right? So even though the father didn't have it, you always inherit. So the Pishnayim part is not a gift to the Bechor, it's an inheritance of the Bechor. And therefore, even though the father didn't have it, it is considered part of the inheritance, and the Bechor would take Pishnayim. Rabbanan Nami, says the Gemara, Rabbanan Nami aksib Pishnayim. What do Rabbanan do with that? Pishnayim seems to juxtapose the part that the Bechor takes and the part that the regular brothers take. They seem to be of the same type of qualification, characteristics. They're both inheritance. And Rabbanan disagree with that, Rebbe's Hakish. And says the Gemara, Ahu lemesiv lo achad mitzvah. That teaches you another din. And that din is true that the Bechor takes Pishnayim, but we always try to give the Bechor his two portions near each other. For example, if there's a bunch of fields that the Bechor is going to inherit, that the brothers are going to inherit, we try to give the Pishnayim, the two fields of the Bechor, we try to make sure that they're next to each other. So we make a certain type of raffle, and the Rashbam goes through it. A certain type of raffle will give the Bechor, when he wins that Pishnayim, two fields that are next to each other. But not that we want to have him separated, because you compare the P2 to the other parts, just like a single portion is one portion. It's not like it's that portion that's near itself, right? So the P2 that you're going to give the Bechor, it's two portions, but it's right near each other, not separated. But nevertheless, the Chachamim hold that it's still considered to be a gift to the Bechor, and therefore only if the father owned something, had it in his possession at the time of his death, then the Bechor takes P2. The Rebbe disagrees. Haksiv losses loy, isn't it a gift? And therefore, just like a gift, you can't give if you don't own it. So you can't get P2 if you don't own it. What does Rebbe do with the pasuk losses loy, gift to the Bechor? He says, that means that in certain ways it is a gift, that there's one, law that considers the P2 to Bechor as a gift, that he can refuse it. In that respect, he can refuse it if it can lead to that he's going to have to pay the outstanding collection agency of his father double portion. He can say, I don't want to take double portion, and I want to give double portion to my father's outstanding debt. That he can do. And because of that, therefore, that's why it's P2. However, Rebbe still maintains his opinion that, again, that if it's a profit that happened by itself, even though it happened after the father's death, the Bechor would take P2. Rav Papa gives you example. And he says like this, not everything the Chachamim will agree. Let's say Dikla Ba'alam. You have a palm tree that became enhanced by growing bigger. That growing bigger and broader after the father's death. Ba'asik sirtain. Or a land that yielded silt. Let's say it became more nutrients. Let's say the water flooded and it became enriched. So this happened after the father's death. Would the Chachamim say that the Bechor takes P2? Would they agree? The Kuli Amalei Pligi, it's no argument. The Shakel that the Bechor would take P2. Ki Pligi, when is the argument? Like I said, B'chafira, when a case of like a grain that Bahave Shibula that grew into stalks, or Shulafoif, right? Bahave Tamre. Let's say you have date flowers that become fully developed as dates. So what is that considered? Marsova, the Rebbe holds Shvacha de B'meila. It's considered something that happens by itself, and therefore the Bechor would take P2. Marsova, others say no, Ishtani. It's changed. It turned from flowers to dates. It turned from fodder to stalks. So it's considered something different, and therefore the Bechor would not take P2. So overall, I do believe that the Chachamim do agree with the concept that if the idea remained the same, the Bechor would take P2. So if I'm giving you the example of the lottery ticket, perhaps maybe the Chachamim would agree that the Bechor would take P2. I'm not sure. We don't know who to paskin like. Also, Kediva Rebbe. Let's say again. Let's give the example of fruits that were not ripened on the tree, and after the father's death, they became ripened. Does the Bechor take P2? So if you paskin, if the courts paskin like Rebbe, also it's very good. Kediva Chachamim. If they paskin like Chachamim, also that's also fine. If they don't want to give it to the Bechor, that's also good. Why? We go to Amid Beis. Misafkele, we have a doubt. I halacha kerebi mechaveroi, I v'loy mechaverev, oy halacha kerebi mechaverev, v'fila mechaverev. We normally paskin like Rebbe, but only maybe when he's going up against another colleague. But maybe when he's going up against the Rabbanim, we will not paskin like Rebbe. So since it's not clear who we paskin like, so whatever the dayan paskin, it's going to be considered be correct, not an incorrect psak. Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rav. Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav, also lasses Kediva Rebbe. A dayan that paskins like Rebbe is doing wrong. Kisovar, because Rav Nachman was very clear in the name of Rav, halacha kerebi mechaverev v'loy mechaverev. The halacha is like Rebbe only when he argues, goes up against a colleague, but not when he goes up against the Rabbanim. And therefore, shevach, that a prophet that comes by itself, the Bechor will not take P2. That's the opinion of Rav. And Rav was said, this statement of Rav was said over by his student Rav Nachman. But Rav Nachman himself disagreed with Rav. And he said, Mutalas Kediva Rebbe. You are permitted to paskin like Rebbe because he held halacha kerebi mechaverev v'afila mechaverev, that you always paskin like Rebbe even if he goes up against Rabbanan. You're always going to paskin like Rebbe. Amar Rava, Rava has a different opinion. He says, also lasses kediv Rebbe. Really, we tell a dayan, don't paskin like Rebbe. Vim also, but if he did, also, then he's okay. Kusava matin itbam. That he heard the psak of who you paskin in this machlokes is matin. You bend towards the chachamim. It's not 100% like the chachamim. The chatchila, a person, we tell the dayan, paskin like the chachamim, the bechor should not take pishnayim. But if he b'diavad paskin like Rebbe, for whatever reason, the dayan went on the opinion of Rebbe, we will let the dayan get away with it, and that's fine. It's not considered an incorrect pasak. Tana Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, again, he said that that Rav Nachman, again, paskin like Rebbe, so he found a brisa, b'shar sifrei debrei Rav, and amongst the books of Bei Rav, a mechilta, or something like a brisa, amongst the other books of Rav, which is a mechilta on, Sefer Bamidbar and Devarim. B'chol asher yimotzi loy. I mean, it's a sifra on Sefer Bamidbar and Devarim. So it says b'chol asher yimotzi loy. That the Bechor takes everything that was in the possession of the father. He takes pishnayim. Parat l'shebach sheshbichu yorshin l'achamisas avim. That excludes if a profit came because the other inheritors invested in the property. Then the Bechor does not take pishnayim. But the Brisa clearly says, if it happened by itself, then a profit that happens by itself, then the Bechor would take pishnayim. Shakel, he would take pishnayim. Money, who's the author of this Brisa? Rebbe. That has to be according to Rebbe. Tani Rabbi Mechama disagreed with Rav Nachman. He said that he found B'shar Siftei de Rav in the other books of Bei Rav. It found in the Brises in the Sifra that there's a Brisa that clearly paskins like the Rabbanim. Every profit that happens after the father's death, the Torah, the Bechor would not take pishnayim. The kolshkein shebach sheshbichu yorshin la'acha misas avim deloy shakal. Anything, even certainly, if in order to create that profit, the other brothers had to invest into the property to create a profit. Certainly, the Bechor would not take pishnayim or money. Rabbani, that price goes according to Rabbani. So it's not clear who you paskin like. Again, by the typical example of a unripened fruit date tree, and then it ripens after the father dies, Rabbanan say that you don't take pishnayim. A Bechor will not take pishnayim, and Rebbe would say that you do take pishnayim. Let's finish off over here another 2 minutes. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, ein Bechor noitel pishnayim b'milva. A Bechor would not take if a dead instrument came due, the maturity date came due, the Bechor would not take pishnayim of the loan coming due. So, Laman, who's the author of that opinion? Is that the opinion of Rabbanan? So, of course, a profit that's, like a fruit tree that's ripening, the Rabbanan say the Bechor doesn't take pishnayim. And here you can see somewhat of the unripened fruit on the tree, and the Rabbanan say you don't take pishnayim. Certainly a loan that was not due yet, but that became due after the father's death, certainly the Bechor would not take pishnayim. So that's no chiddush. There's no novelty. Elo Rebbe, the author of that Brisa is Rebbe, and Rebbe says ein Bechor noitel pishnayim b'milva. If it's a loan coming due, the Bechor would not take pishnayim. So wait a second. But we have a Brisa that says Yorshu Shtei Choiv. If they do inherit Shtar Chayiv, and we said this Brisa on Amar Aleph, Bechor noitel pishnayim. A dead instrument, the Bechor would take pishnayim. Bein b'milva, bein b'ribis. Whether it's milva and ribis. Even if there's interest due, let's say it was a dead instrument to lending a corporation or a guy, so there's interest due. The Bechor would take pishnayim of that. Money, who's that author? If both Rebbe and Rabbanan hold that the Bechor does not take pishnayim by an outstanding debt instrument, so who's the author of that Brisa? Loy Rebbe, loy Rabbanan. It would be not Rebbe, not Rabbanan. And says the Gemara, lo oilam Rabbanan. Really, the author of the Brisa is the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan hold that Brisa that says Bechor noitel pishnayim on a shtar choiv, Rebbe holds on a dead instrument the Bechor would take pishnayim. The Brisa that says ein Bechor noitel pishnayim b'milva is the Rabbanan, and there's a novel idea of that. Why? Because Itzrach, the Brisa teaches you a din Kasalta daita chamina, I would have thought even the Rabbanon would agree that a Bechor would take Pishnayim. Why? Milba alone, even the Nakat Shtara, since the father was holding on to the document, so I would think that even the Rabbanon would agree that you get the Pishnayim. Command the Gavi Adam, it's as if it's collected. Kamash Milan, the Brisa teaches that the Rabbanon will hold that a Bechor would not take Pishnayim by an outstanding dead instrument. Here, Shalch Mitam from Eretz Yisrael, they send the Brisa in a different way, and we come out with the reversed thought. Bechor noitel Pishnayim b'milva avaloi beribis. Bechor would take the double Pishnayim in the loan amount, but the interest, that's the father shouldn't even had interest, or that's not even considered collected. The loan, the principle of the loan, yes, the Bechor would take Pishnayim. Laman, same question. If the author of the Brisa Rabbanan, so Rabbanan will hold, there's no novelty of that. Because the Rabbanan will, if it's in your possession, certainly the Rabbanan say you don't take it. So a loan that's coming due, the Rabbanan certainly would tell you that the Bechor would not take Pishnayim. So the author of the Brisa cannot be Rabbanan. El Rebbe, the author of the Brisa is Rebbe. So the author of the Brisa is this Rebbe, and that's how they learn it, that a Bechor takes Pishnayim b'milva, but not in the interest. Says the Gemara, Rebbe holds that you even get the Pishnayim on the interest. But Tanya, Rebbe says, and here's a clear Brisa, that says, Rebbe said, Bechor noitel Pishnayim, bein b'milva, bein b'ribis. Whether it's ribis or milva, Bechor takes Pishnayim. So the author of this Brisa that says, a Bechor noitel Pishnayim, b'milva, not b'ribis, cannot be Rebbe. Rebbe holds with the ribis, you would take Pishnayim. Answers the Gemara, Loila Rabbanan, it's a Rabbanan. And therefore, Rabbanan, according to the people from Israel, they felt that Rabbanan will hold that when a fruit becomes ripened, then your Bechor does not take Pishnayim, because it wasn't ripened when the father died. But a dead instrument, since the father was holding on to the dead instrument at the time of death, it's considered as if the father collected on that. And therefore, it's considered as if it was in the father's possession. The Bechor would take Pishnayim on that, even according to Rabbanan, but not on the interest. Umilva command Gavi Adami. A loan is considered as if it's collecting if the father was holding on to the debt instrument at the time of death. So perhaps by a lottery ticket, if the father won a lottery ticket after he died, according to the way we're learning now, perhaps even according to Rabbanan, the Bechor would take Pishnayim of that. Okay, let's stop over here. 6 lines from the bottom. Yeah.